You can share your screen. The time is yours. Good luck, and catch up with you after your call. See you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Saeed, and welcome FlutterMENA in this amazing day. And I'm super grateful that I can also share the stage with a lot of talented people, and also the chat is going very well. Please, guys, take this opportunity to also raising any questions related to Flutter, because right now you can receive many support from many amazing developers in our region. So the joy of functional programming in Dart, and a small spoiler that is still joyful. So my name is Csongor Vogel. I want to quickly introducing myself. I'm a staff engineer at Talabat, which is one of the largest food delivery application in the region. In the same time, in my free time, I'm still teaching Flutter in my previous university in Hungary remotely. Likely we can still happily maintaining in the lectures and the curriculum. So we are gonna finishing wrapping up our 7th semester. So and also in the local community, to give back to the community, I'm also one of the co-organizers of Flutter Abu Dhabi and Dubai. But today, what we are trying to discuss and what we are aiming to learn together is mainly will be functional programming. But functional programming is a large topic, and in the upcoming minutes we will only have time to discuss in the basic, and then also learning the language features what the Dart language provides us to using functional style implementations. And in the end of the presentation and the talk, we will also see some examples of packages, third-party libraries, which are provided by this amazing community to also learn and being able to contribute on the functional oriented programming. And we will also wrap up some conclusions in the end. So please stay with us. So functional programming, it's a programming paradigm based on mathematical functions, scary words. The main principles of functional programming is basically the purity, the immutability, the high order functions, and the declarative programming style. To understand these principles more, I would like to invite everyone for a quick time travel. Let's go back to the beloved and long-awaited mathematical schools, chairs, and let's discuss and let's try to remember what we learned about mathematical functions. So the mathematical functions, as we learned in the old days, they are representing rules between two sets, the set of inputs and the set of outputs. So for example, if we take an example, a really complex function which would calculate the double of input sets, then we can say that every input requires only one output. Going forward, let's take a more advanced example. Let's see a function which calculates the square values of an input, and then we can observe the same, that every input value still provides and requires still provides us only one output. But what would happen in the case when the same function with the same input would give us different outputs? In that sense, we cannot talk about mathematical functions. This is the rule of principle, which the smartest people named as purity. Purity specifies that a mathematical function always produces the same output for the same input without causing any side effects. To understand this, I'd like to bring in another mathematical examples. This lecture seemingly will provide many examples from this area. So let's take an example about the area of a circle, where we can mention that A equals PR squared. So if we are taking a look at the Dart implementation, then this is how it looks like. We have one variable, the pi, and we have one function which is called as area of circle, having only one parameter, a radius, and we can return with the multiplication of these variables. There is no any magic on that. And we can also start using our function. We can prepare a set of inputs, and we can like increment on these loops, and we can calculate the area values of these input sets. We will be able to see in our console that everything is logged and printed very well. There is no magic on that. But there can be like one issue. For example, in the recent days, I started to talking in my dreams, and I'm also a bit worried that maybe one day I will also coding and implementing, changing something in the implementation when I'm sleepy. So in that case, one mistake what I could do is basically accidentally I can change the pi variable from the original values. And in that case, our same input fields, if you are running our function, they would fail. We didn't change anything in our area of circle function. Still, basically, the result values would differ from the previous one. So what's the learning from that? The learning is that from that point, our function is not a pure function. We cannot talk about pure functions anymore in that. Then how we can fix it, how we can ensure that really complex calculations, like calculating the area of something, won't differ from different scenarios. The mathematicians solve this issue by introducing the second rule or second principle of functional programming, which is immutability. Immutability specifies that data cannot be changed once it's created, reducing the change of unexpected mutations and making our code more predictable. This is exactly what we needed. So if you are going back to the example and we say that, okay, let's change this pi variable, let me also start a pointer. So if you are changing the pi variable, for example, for a const value, then we can say that we can ensure that our function will always return with the same variables every time. There is no any this pointer was not a good idea because I wanted to hide it. Okay, now I can, because we can see that, so we could fix this issue together with the pointer. So that made our code much more safer. We can ensure that our functions always return with the same value. If we didn't have a unit test to protect us from this change, then the immutability can represent a second layer of security for our implementations. Let's try to still enhance our function. What else is missing from this? For example, we learned that in the school that we should not calculating like area for negative numbers, right? So this is not defined. So what we can do, for example, we can add like an input check, after. We can check our parameters that if we are receiving like a negative radius, we can throw an exception or like an error, like argument error. In that case, if someone is providing like an input like -1, then the -1 would throw this error. But there is one issue with this scenario. The main issue that if you see, we highlighted that the return type of our function is double. So there is no any mention about that. The users or the caller side later on can face with any issue, any exception or error. So what you can do, another option to solve this issue will be introducing nullability. We can mention that this area of circle function can return with the exact value if the parameter is valid. Otherwise, it will return with null. About error handling and these scenarios, we will take a look at another example later on the session. But right now, let's take it aside. Let's coming back to the to our example, and let's say that okay, let's try to handling these negative numbers. But not inside of our function. Let's try to just validating our input fields below the main function. So what we need to check, let's see that how we are printing things to the console. We are measuring the input values, then we are looping on values. So for syntax, then we are reading the radius values from the input sets. We are calculating the area of the circle. We are passing the radius and we are printing the area. So where should we put this input check, what is the best place. Why I needed to understand all of these scenarios, and by the way, like we can find of course the right place, but it took time, and it took time to find the right place to like adding this like a small like a number check, and not because of the complexity of my implementation, because of the imperative style. So in imperative style, the imperative style specifies like a step-by-step rules about how do we want to modify our data. And unfortunately, this is more attached to the object-oriented programming, what we started during our journey. And it's opposite of the declarative style, which is more preferred by the functional programming. But let's see this declarative style. In declarative style, you can see that we can chaining. There are a lot of benefits by like chaining our operations. It can provide us like more readable code, and we can also easier to modify. We can drop specific operations. We can keep specific operations. If we want, we can extend it. We can skip the first item in our input set. Right now, actually, we are playing with an iterable interface in the Dart implementation, or we can also iterating every values and just easily printing it step by basically with this chaining functionality in declarative style. We have like a really readable implementation. Of course, everything has a drawback because in development we get used to receiving questions or like comments like it depends. So for example, we can consider to okay, we have the print function, maybe we can reducing the unnecessary iterations between these operations. Of course, there is the printing also. If someone wanted to playing with their head, that what would be the result of this small little example. So the disadvantage of these operations and this declarative style, of course, would be the unnecessary extra iterations. So let's try to take an example, or let's try something. Let's try to take the print5 function, and let's try to inject it to the area of a circle. But is it possible in Dart? Can we just pass a function into another function? The good news is that it's possible thanks to the higher order function, and this is what higher order function is also representing for functional programming. So these functions, so higher order function gives us opportunity to having functions which can be passed as arguments to another function or can be returned by another function. So in Dart and a lot of examples, before it was also like higher order functions because we could, and top level functions because we could also define them outside of the main. But what we can do, instead of printing the area values in the end of the input sets, we can easily just pass it to the area of a circle. So you can see that as a second parameter, it requires a function one. Amazing. So let's wrap up. Let's recap what we learned about functional programming so far. So it's a programming paradigm, again, based on mathematical functions. It represents a contrast to the object-oriented programming. So inside of object-oriented programming, we did the opposite of what we discussed previously. We are mutating the inner state of our objects and our classes, and the OP is heavily relying on the imperative programming style, but we are trying to do the opposite of that. And the main goal is, again, supporting the purity, having immutability, and based on the declarative programming style, we can also use these higher order functions. And the good news is that most of our modern languages are all capable to support a set of features, a set of language features for functional programming. But what about beloved language, the Dart language? In this second section, let's take a look on that. What are the main functional programming language features what we can use? Let's start from the easiest one, what we also use to basically fixing this pi area issue. So we can use constants like final and const keyword. So here is a small example. If we have like a string, like a initialized with the value of John and it's final, then after that we cannot like change it. Otherwise, we receive a compile time error. John, by the way, his age is like 29, and again, do not try to change its age if it's not the right time. So otherwise, you will receive again like compile time error. And here we can also see the difference between final and const keywords. But what about the scenarios and the cases with collections and lists? We can see that we have a collection with numbers 1, 2, 3. The good news is that if it's already initialized, then as you see in the second line, which is also commented, we cannot reinitialize this list of integers. But there is one problem that unfortunately we can still extending the values of this list. So if we didn't define this list as immutable in the beginning, as default, the Dart language would still allow this mutability for us. The same would be with const numbers. What about the classes? Let's take an example of a class which is called as Karak. So if we have like an object like Karak T with a string type and best price, then we can say that my favorite Karak T is the masala or masalan, if I'm leaving some typos in the slides. And we can see that after that, if I have a favorite, I cannot just easily change my mind. I need to stick to it. So I cannot change it to Safrani Karak T. Otherwise, I'll receive compile time. But what we can do, if in our scenarios we still need to support some updates, or we need to update, or maybe like after a masala, my next big favorite Karak T would be the ginger. Then we can add like a manual, like a copy with function. So after that, we also ensure that only the components in our implementation and in our application, which can access to the copy with based on events, can change this my favorite. I cannot just accidentally change my mind like randomly. So let's see the next, and as you see, the copy with function can also apply for this case. So top level functions, I have a good news. A lot of examples, as I mentioned previously, it used top level functions. Top level functions can specify and declare outside of our main functions and outside of classes. So that also helps us to easily create functions, because functional programming, as its name is also requires, heavily relying on functions and not objects and classes. Good. We also have anonymous functions. These functions basically enable us to also can assign functions to a variable. So, for example, we have an example for a lambda, which is also like a type of anonymous function with the greetings capability. So if we have the name and for example, if the name receives like another function, then we can also pass, and we can also greeting the people in the chat of FlutterMENA. What about the closures? The closures, these are tricky guys. Basically, these it's a function object that access to like variables to its own lexical scope, even if it's the function is used like outside of the original scope. What does it mean? In this example, what you need to see that this counter function also captures the variable of start. So whenever the return function goes, it will always remember to increment its own initial value. That's why we see that we are printing 0 and printing 1 later on. Let's see another like a really interesting Dart feature, which are the extensions. Extensions, if someone is also coming from like a Kotlin background, as I did, there we were like big fans of extensions helping us like chaining different operations and easily extending different operations, which can also like a better benefit out if you are thinking about that in functional programming, we want to like combine multiple functions. And what happened on the last summer, there was a big announcement the announcement was that Dart version 3, which was like a long, that was a long-awaited version with many features, started to releasing and rolling out like main language features, which was like directly, like purposely extending to supporting the functional programming. What does it mean? We receive records and patterns. Before I'm showcasing some minor examples, I would like to ask you, like everyone in the chat, that let's take a look at the exploring records and patterns talk from like a Pascal Verge from the last year FlutterCon. It's amazing talk. It's still relevant. So I heavily recommend everyone to take a look on that. Okay, so the records really quickly. These are like anonymous and immutable types, and basically records are representing a bundle where we can bundle multiple objects into a single object, and that is what we call as records. Here in this example, you can see that we can create records with named parameters, or if we want, we can also like mixing it. So we have like two parameters or two bundled objects, one string and one integer. And if you want to like changing for the second object to it, then we cannot do with the past conf records. As I mentioned, that records are also immutable. We need to create a new object. That can help us to revisiting our interfaces in our core libraries. For example, if you are using locations or multiple different packages, then we can consider to like introducing and using these records. For example, returning somewhere with multiple return values. So as we can see that this get name using and utilizing the language feature of records can return with a bundled object that contains two strings, last name and first name. Sorry, I'm always missing because I'm a Hungarian and we are also switching these names. For us, the first name is the last name. I don't want to stuck into it. Just I needed to raise it. The second thing is what we can also receive from records is this destructuring. So even if we have like an object, like a bundle, then we can also easily retrieve the specific values what we are looking for. But this also requires to utilizing the pattern matching. So the pattern matching is which let us do like pattern matching in the middle of an expression. So the patterns are helping us to providing exhaustiveness, which means that if you are creating a pattern, like if you have a function which wants to like a smarter switch case where you are specifying all of the scenarios which can be expected. So if you have like a switch case with two booleans, then you need to specify all of the cases if you are utilizing the pattern matching. Otherwise, the pattern matching can also end up like compile time issues if one of the scenario is not provided. This is what we call as exhaustiveness, and this is something what can help us to ensuring that our state management implementations are more safe. By the way, there is a really great explanation about patterns and pattern matching from Craig. So I also heavily recommend all of you guys to taking a look at the Decoding Flutter series, specifically about patterns. Okay, these Dart version 3 updates in last year also provided updates about the algebraic data types. So between below pattern matching, we can use algebraic data types that can help us to specifying different expressions if you want to maintain family related types. So below shape we can see squares, circles, and in pattern matching, if you are taking a look at the switch case, then we can see that we can based on the relation of the family types, we can specifically running operation for specific behaviors or types. So that also can help us to implementing a more clear and structured state management implementation. So we learned all of these scenarios, and we can be more familiar with all of these tools and language features. So what should be the next one? The next one, for example, that we can have a character. Actually, I will need your help, guys, to like implementing also like a small function which can be let's fetch an information about like where we can find like a character. So let's take an example of getty. Please getty like a function. We can specify like a character API, and we can have unfortunately many issues. As you can see that if we are talking about like a different like third-party source, like if we want to like fetch any information with the internet, then we can receive like many issues. We can have like issues related to the server. Maybe there is no internet. We can have like any authentication issues. If our getty function is the most secured one and it requires multiple header files and tokens, we can have parsing issues when we are parsing our data to a correct model, and also we can have a lot of unknown issues. Why is it a bit painful for us? Because we just wanted to have like a correct T, and I see in the chat that someone also needs a correct, so I'm also one of them. So if you want to have this getty function, then the first issue that somehow it would be so great if we can highlight the importance of the user or the caller side of this getty function, that this feature can also return with different issues, errors, exceptions, not just the correct one, but I highlighted in the top one. So we can also see that this caller side, as I mentioned in the previous slide, it's required to also, like if it wants to use the getty function, then needs to like wrapping up with the try catch block, or of course like we can use the callbacks and the chain callbacks of the future interface. But one of the most obvious solution would be like using a try catch block. So we have the getty function. We know that it can return with many exceptions, and we are separating them. The second thing, what you can also consider instead of this try catch block, as I mentioned, that it would be so great to somehow like showing that our function can return with a success result or with a failure. For this, the Dart 3 from Dart 3 version, we can use sealed classes. So we can see that with the sealed class, we can bundle like two type of like a children class type. We can have a success and the failure cases like specified and declared below a result class. With a small like improvements, what we can do, if you remember the first like implementation where we had the try catch block, instead of that, we can introduce these result sealed classes. So again, we are specifying a URI. Let me also enabling the pointer. Let's hope that right now it will work again. So we are specifying the API, we are calling it, we have the response based on the status code, we are doing all of the parsing. And again, if it's success, and in case of status code 200, we assume that it will return with a success case, we are just returning with the success type. Otherwise, we are throwing an exception, and in the catch blocks, we will find the exception types, and we can also return with the associated failures. Why is it good? Because after that, the caller side, instead of focusing on getty and forcing the developers to also checking the implementation of this getty, after that, instead of that, it can use just the result type and this result object and the sealed class. Comparing with pattern matching, it will provide like a more like a readable and the developers can also expect that they can also assume that that is negative, and success case and the exhaustiveness and many things will also ensure that your implementation is more safe. Again, as I mentioned that I'm super obsessed with Coracti, and I will need to also ask you guys to also help me that what are your favorite Coractis. This is my next like a passion and hobby, what I wanted to hand. So please guys in the chat, drop what is your favorite like Coract types. I know that there is a delay with the chat and between me, so I hope that I won't lose a lot of your times. But please, in the chat, please drop in the comment who is someone who's a big fan of the ginger Coracti. Maybe I'm the only one. I'm also checking the chat. No one likes the character. That's sad. That's sad. No issue. At like a worst case scenario that more tea and more character, but I can also consume. But actually, what like I was trying to do is that I was trying to like collecting the different options what I can use to get the best character about from the area. So my upcoming project would be to get the best character. I was thinking about like 3 scenarios or 3 options what I could consider. One of them would be like checking the different character options from by delivery, also different character options based on their popularity and based on the deals. I can also like consider that. But if I would like run all of these operations sequentially using the result sealed classes. Using the sealed classes what we learned together, then we could easily end up with the following scenarios. Again, having the 3 options or 3 functions what we are considering, all of them would return with the result of characters, and yes, they are in a list. Every APIs could also like contains like success character cases or failure exceptions. So if you are changing all of these and using the pattern matching and the state classes, we could easily ended up something I wouldn't say that is the most readable code ever. Actually, this scenario was also highlighted by an article by Andrea Pisotto. Please also consider to following him for amazing articles and upcoming courses. Okay, so what you can do to like avoid ending up with this scenario. One thing what we can consider that we can check that what the community provides us as a solution to solve our problem. So let's take a look at the useful packages on if someone wants to use functional programming in their upcoming project, then these people can consider to use Dart or fpdart. And if someone is more like interested in like supporting the immutability, then I heavily recommend the fast immutable collections, the ktdart build collection, equitable freeze. So all of these packages are ensuring and supporting many language capabilities to ensure the immutability. And before DAR3, if someone is dealing with a legacy code and is not able to upgrade the Flutter SDK to the latest versions, by the way, I think from Flutter 3.3 and not Flutter 3. I don't want to give like a wrong version number, but before with these before the time of DAR3, we could use tuple for supporting multiple return type, multiple return values, or the pseudonyms before the sealed classes, which are right now provided by the language features. But let's take a look at basically what fpdart provides us. fpdart is like a well-documented, super extensive, super rich in many language features and types. And in the left side, I just highlighted the most important ones, what you could use, especially in the beginning of your functional programming journey. The really good things that the creator of fpdart, Sandro Maglione, he provided like a rich documentations which could also help anyone who wants to like journey on functional programming from scratch. Other than that, by using fpdart, I want to highlight one of the first most important type, which is the IDER. By using IDER, it's really similar to the result object what we manually custom made. So with the IDER function, with the IDER type, we can create an instance of 2 value. The right side can represent the success case in most of the times, and the left side can represent the failure case or error scenarios. So, for example, if you guys are still remembering of the small example and like implementation what we wanted to do, like instead of the result object, we can easily migrate everything to IDER. So instead of returning with a success type, we can return with an IDER.write. Otherwise, we can also, if there's any issue, then we can return with the left side of this either. Why is it good? Because the color side, here we would have like a pattern matching, and we could also easily reducing the implementation by like handling the match operations, those like either tasks, because fpdart also supporting and successfully adopted the latest language features of Dart3. Let's take another example, which is the task. Why we need to talk about the task? Because we can observe and we can realize that if I just need the T, I just need the karak. So why I need to read that? Okay, I have future either string karak. I'm a bit lost that what is the return type of my function. So let's try to somehow also reducing this and make it more readable, so we can adopt the type and interface of the task. So by using task type, basically we can handling asynchronous operations, so more time consuming operations can be also migrated from the future type to the task. And you can also see like a lot of examples, then extracting the value inside of the task. After that, if you want to run it, then we need to also call this run function. And if you want to also handling the return type or return values of this task, then we should use the flat map. So let's take a look. The good news is that we can also combine different types of fpdart. It's really fun. I told you guys in the beginning. So we can say that we have like a task either type, which is like combining every benefits of the either function and every benefits of the task one. And this guy also providing us like a try catch interface. I'm super happy. So it means that we can just collect our main implementation to this guy, and it can automatically handling the success case, returning after the parse data, and also the error case on the later part. And the result from the result object, our migration could end up with the end of it. And we can see that like with one function, this getty can also handling by this fpdart. So why is it good, and could we get the best karak? The good news that even if the best karak, if we're remembering this example from this, where we face with not the most readable result by using the result set class and pattern matching. If we could consider to adopt fpdart, then we could move this implementation just to this part and using still pattern matching, but only in the end. Then we can easier to also print, and we could also reduce the lines of code, making our code more readable. And we also we can confirm that everything is also immutable, if you just want to recap functional programming. So the conclusion, what are the main things what we learned together? The conclusion for me is that I really hope that I could give you guys some motivation to being more familiar with the key concept of functional programming, and being aware also the main Dart features. So the official Dart team is working super hard, and the whole community, to bring more amazing language features. And I know that pattern matching and the records was also introduced last year. But please, guys, give a shot and give it a try to these language features. Start experimenting them. So you could easily be more aware about these features, and hopefully there will be more articles and more samples how to using them. Because worst case, the main issue that if you guys are also not using the ChatGPT and all of these and the Gemini, all of these API AI tools would also provide you a wrong syntax. But my last advice for all of you is that start small. Try to focus on one aspect of functional programming at one time. Try to stick or specify a goal for yourself for next week. That on the next week, I will ensure that in my state management implementations, I won't randomly mutating my inner state. I will use like a copy with functions and others. And if you are writing also with your block test, if you're using block or any other unit test, then you will recognize that your like unit test implementations are also much easier, because you could eliminate the unnecessary and the unexpected side effects and mutations from your code. So start always, like pick one like a side and one aspect of functional programming. And last but not least, learn it together with your teammates. The previous examples, when we changed the return type of our API calls, we are not allowed to just like changing the core libraries of our project, surprising and forcing our colleagues to learning all of this. We need to adopt it together, and we need to learn functional programming together. So this is my main recommendations for that. For this journey, I also shared many resources. You can anytime coming back to this like a moment of the stream. And also there is a small player and function what you could find, guys, in the upcoming ones. And also, guys, I really hope that that gave you like a good motivation for your functional programming. And also, thank you so much, everyone, for the help, and also being super active. In the meantime, unfortunately, the background became like dark, so we can. I think this is the right time to also answering multiple questions. So, guys, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Csongor, for this enlightening session. So
you moved
during
from
the session,
to light mode.
Come again? Oh yeah,
I was saying that you moved from dark mode to light mode.
Yeah, this was what I was like during the whole presentation. I was thinking that should I just like stand up, like turning on the lights? But I hope you could guys like still saw me in the darkness. I really hope that. Yeah,
also we stand up with you. We have karak here.
Nice. Actually, I ordered the karak because during the preparation, I didn't stop thinking about that. So there is also one karak like outside of my apartment room. But let's take a look at the questions, and after
you are lucky. Great.
So I think we have a couple of questions during the chat. One of them was, should we use a pure Dart function programming only, or it is fine to use package like fdart and dartx?
I think, yeah, thank you so much. The question from Astro. I think on that list, we could revisit that multiple like language features are also provided as default by the Dart language. So if you are you don't need to, you're not forced. That's the good things in Flutter development, that even if you are just considering state management, we also have like 10 different options. And the same with functional programming, then you can make your you can provide functional style without using external libraries. Again, just think about the main core principles: immutability, purity, and you can provide more readable and safer code. Of course, functional programming is not we cannot adopt it and using it in every cases. For example, game development is a huge area where functional programming would be the last thing what we should consider, as basically there we are always mutating everything minimum 60 times per second. So I'm again the fpdart and dartx, both of them are really great solutions and packages, but of course it's not mandatory. But I think you can take a try and share it with your teammates.
Perfect. And Astro was asking why. I think this was, why did you use bar instead of final here? I think this was during the session, but there is another question. Is it good to do nested of extensions in Dart?
To nested extensions, using extensions, I'm a big fan of it. I think maybe it's mainly can be explained the fact that I'm coming from the Kotlin a development, and that I was truly obsessed with those extension functions, and I still heavily supporting them, because using extension functions, it's really also like you are specifying it explicitly that what are the types where those extension functions can be used. And the good news is that I think if you are above Flutter 3.3, then from that point extension functions, enums, a lot of things could be also more smarter, let's say that, and there are more extensive and functionalities what you can implement by using them.
Perfect. And there was a lot of people who are sharing summed up to the Karak story. So yeah, can you? This is my question. How did you came up with the Karak idea?
No, I really ordered one. So if I'm opening the door, I think there will be someone.
Actually, it was a joke in the backstage. I tell you, it's in your presentation.
So I have a Karak, and I was craving for that.
Great. Okay, I think there is no more question, but there is, I think, a comment also from Muhammad. He just, I have been making a course. I feel like I will be shifting all possible logic to FP. Love it.
Nice. I'm really happy that Mohammed, you ended up with these a conclusion. The good news is that in many times when we are specifying different functionalities, sometimes maybe if we did some mistakes in the past, we could end up using interfaces or APIs which are not declared properly, which means that as we also check some examples, that when you are you are expecting to receive a value, but your value, hoppa, what happened with my camera? Zero idea. Maybe some optimizations. I didn't touch anything, but basically, if you want to use a specific API and there are not listed what are the things, what are the throwable types, exceptions, what you can expect, or that you don't have access on documentation. And I know that we developers, not our favorite activity is documenting all of our changes. So if you don't have unit testing on something, relying on not tested interfaces and APIs can be risky, and using fpdart will force you to explicitly specifying your success and failure cases that can help you.
Wonderful. Great. I think you answered all the questions, and thank you for the valuable and insightful session. Maybe Said, now we can go to the next speaker.
Yeah, before we go to the next speaker, thank you so much, first of all, Csongor. It was very enlightening session. It was nice to have you also with us. And I want to congratulate you that you are recently became a GDE, a Google Developer Expert.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
Congratulations. Well deserved.
Thank you so much, guys, for your support and also for the community. By the way, for Flutter Abu Dhabi and Dubai tomorrow, we will have also a meetup in person. So that is right now it's really good to be like a Flutter developer in the MENA region, especially here in Dubai. So we have a great week, and thank you guys for this amazing online conference.
Yeah, good luck with your event. Unfortunately, if I was in Dubai, I would attend, or in Emirates. But good luck for these attendees. I think, Mahmoud, we will take a 5-minute break just to relax, get Karak. Yeah, because I want to get Karak now. And after all this talk about Karak, now we need to get some Karak, drink Karak, and continue after 5 minutes with our next speaker would be Muad. Muad will be speaking in Arabic, doing a session on Flutter Web. So stay tuned. We will be back in 5 minutes.
Bye, guys.
Bye.